Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are starting the second session of PhD coursework phase 3, date 12th June 2024. And it gives me great pleasure that for the first time we have someone from out of India, that is international boundary. We are very happy that Dr. Roxana Elizabeta Marinescu. Ma'am, I hope I have pronounced your name correctly. Thank you. And I am so happy that Dr. Roxana Marinescu has joined us from Romania. There is time zone difference, but she has helped us by being here to facilitate her knowledge for the PhD scholars. Madam is a professor in Bucharest University of Economic Studies in Romania. I am so happy to inform the PhD students that ma'am teaches intercultural communication, cultural studies and contemporary culture and civilizations, and various such interesting subjects. Ma'am has supervised many PhD scholars, and her main area of interest is feminism, equal opportunity, and the list is quite long. So you are definitely a multifaceted personality. Since 2007, she is editor-in-chief of Synergy Journal, and to give credentials of her research ability, ma'am has authored 4 books. Roxana ma'am has 15 collective volumes in chapters, and she has published articles in international and academic journals, over 16 in number. So with this huge, wonderful background in research, I invite you to speak on today's topic of literature review. And madam, the assignment given to them is also on literature review. So it is very pertinent and it will be nice. Some students face difficulty in understanding English fluently, but I am sure if you will speak in little slowly, then they will all be able to manage. This is just a little brief from my side. Another thing, ma'am, these are all students of social sciences. So we have students of arts, education, law faculty, and commerce and management. This is the background of the almost 65 right now, but in a very short time, there would be more than 80. Okay, ma'am. Without wasting time, without coming in between you and the students, I'm handing over the mic to you. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the invitation. It was very kind. Could I please ask you to mute yourself so that I can? Okay, thank you. It was very kind of you to invite me, and I'm very glad to be with you, even though only online. I mean, I attended an international conference in Buj some years ago before the pandemic, and I have wonderful memories from there. I hope that very soon I'll be able to travel there as well. So I'm very happy to meet you all. I can see that you are now 68. And I was looking at your short descriptions when you signed for attendance. And as Professor Bhatti was saying earlier, yes, you are from different subjects, which is a challenge. I supervise PhDs in British and American literature, cultural studies, and gender studies, which is kind of similar to some of your areas of expertise. And I also, I teach in a University of Economic Studies. So there you go again, for those of you who want to do a PhD in commerce and management. We also have departments of commerce and management as well. Also, just a quick reminder that we have a memorandum of understanding between our 2 universities. So maybe we can think of something in which we can involve you, PhD students, together with our PhD students. You never know. There are always projects, and maybe your research is similar to some of our students. Okay, I am now going to share the presentation which I intend to make today, which is on literature review, as I was asked to do. Again, I'm going to try and speak slowly, hoping that you can all follow and understand. I hope that my English accent is not very strong, so you can all follow. This is the outline of the presentation. As I was told, and I suppose this is very similar to our students as well, you have different backgrounds and different understandings of the topic of literature review. That is why I thought of starting with some basic ideas. Two of those are the definition of literature review and the purpose. Why on earth do we write literature reviews? And then I'm going to take you through the steps of how you actually write a literature review. I will illustrate with an example of such a piece of academic writing. Then we will together do a revision, a recap of the main points. And at the end, I allowed about a quarter of an hour for questions and answers, if you have any. Also, if you think of any question that you might have during my presentation, you can write it in the chat box, and hopefully I will get them at the end with the help of Dr. Bati. She will help me, and we will try to answer those. Okay, so what is literature review, and then why do we write it? And you probably know, I'm sure, have written lots of literature reviews to your papers in the past. The literature review is like an overview, like a survey of some of the theories and some of the ideas and the knowledge which has been written before on the particular topic of your PhD research. I said some because you can't possibly include everything in the literature review. And we are going to see how you make the selection of what you are going to include in your in this part of the your research. And at the same time, it's a picture of where research on the respective topic is at the present moment. So what has been studied and done before, but also where research is, where it has arrived, and what we can glean from the theories and the ideas on the respective topic at the present time. I say it's a survey of scholarly sources. So it's an academic piece of writing. Over the years, some of my students included all sorts of things in their literature reviews. And of course, I have to tell them, to remind them all the time that no, you need to include academic writing only. So for example, sometimes they included leaflets or brochures or different videos. Well, as long as they are the videos, as long as they are academic, yes, you can include them in the literature review. But if not, you can't include just anything. So scholarly sources can be books, academic books on your topic of research, can be articles which were published in academic journals. And by that, we mean academic journals which are in important international databases, academic journals where publications happen after a serious peer reviewing process, not just any journal of any university in the world or any type of journal. It really has to be academic. The literature review is simultaneously an analysis, a synthesis, and a critical evaluation of these sources, these academic sources. So what do we mean by that? We don't just list the sources as such. We need to analyze them from the perspective of our own research. Then we create a synthesis of all of these sources that we include in the literature review. And also, we need to evaluate them critically. We need to state whether they're relevant or important. And we also present our position towards them in connection, always in connection to our own research. When I say if they're important or relevant, I mean vis-a-vis our own research. So not just in general, okay, that's a generally important source, but it is the research you are particularly conducting. And as you perhaps already know, it is placed at the beginning of your paper in a separate chapter or a separate subchapter. Sometimes we have literature reviews as articles in themselves. As your professor, Professor Bhatti, introduced me at the beginning, you all heard that I have been for a number of years now editor-in-chief of an academic journal myself. And whenever I receive articles for publication, I always look at the literature review part. And if that is serious and coherent and well done, then I continue reading the article. If not, I don't even think of submitting it to the peer review, to peer reviewers. So sometimes I receive articles that are just the literature review. In other words, the survey of work in a separate on a separate topic, which is perfectly acceptable. But for you, because you are PhD students, I suppose it is very important to remember that you do the literature review, you place it at the beginning of your paper, and it has to be connected to the rest of your paper. Now, why do we write literature reviews? Literature reviews are academic writings, which means that they need to follow certain rules of academic writing. The first one is that the level of the register in which you are writing is formal. What does this mean? What does it mean that we write in a formal register? It means that we're not allowed to use contractions, such as, for example, in English, oral types of writing. Like, for example, we hear people, English people, American people saying, I'm gonna go, or I'm gonna do this. Well, we don't write like that in academic writing. We need to be formal. We're going to use the full forms: going to, do, is not, do not, and so on. Also, we don't use jargon or slang words. We need to use, well, jargon we can use if it's the jargon of our own scientific field. But other than that, we don't use slang words. We don't use, obviously, swear words or expressions that are very informal. The second thing is about paragraphing. You probably studied that. The paragraphs of academic writing pieces need to be coherent. And that means that they have a topic sentence that is the main idea of a paragraph, and then supporting sentences that say something about the topic sentence. So in other words, we can't have a one-sentence paragraph. We need to have several sentences in a paragraph, the main sentence and then other ones supporting it with examples or other ideas. And we need to use link words to connect the paragraphs together in a coherent piece of writing. We call link words connectors as well. Such words as at the beginning, in conclusion, therefore, thus, however, nevertheless. You know, so we use these words to piece together our ideas. Okay, so this is just to explain that the literature review part of your paper is academic writing. We write literature reviews because professors request it. I sometimes give my students, even at the bachelor level, I give them tasks, as you were given a task to write a literature review. Publishers request it, as I said earlier. I want to see this in the articles submitted to the academic journal where I'm editor-in-chief. Reviewers look at that. So it's part of your academic papers or articles or chapters. It is something that we do in academia. But also, besides those 2 points, we write literature reviews because they are important and relevant to our work. Why is that? Because they situate our own research, which is very specific and personal, within the general research on the topic of our research. So we have our own research, which we want to talk about. And in the literature review part, we need to connect it to the rest of the research on that particular topic. And this is what the literature review does. Also, it demonstrates how much we know about the topic and the research which has been done in that on that particular topic, and how familiar we are with that topic and that research. And this is by including in the literature review relevant and important pieces in the area, and relevant and important people who contributed with research in the area. In the literature review section, we highlight key themes and ideas connected to the topic. So it clarifies the topic for us and for the ones who read our research. A very important role of the literature review is that it helps us identify gaps or contradictions in current research, which we can address in our own research. So by reading about what other people have researched in the topic in which we are also conducting research, and you are conducting research in your PhD programs, you identify some situations where some things have not been covered at all or haven't been covered properly, or where you think you can add your original perspective. So maybe you can add something about maybe you can add perspective about the situation in India to research which is done in other parts of the world. Or maybe you have a specific type of that you are conducting, or a survey that you have done in the area, and you want to add that to current research. So by reading what has been done, by reading the theories and the papers, what has been done so far, you are able to identify where you can add and then this is the original aspect of your PhD research. As you know, you need to show some originality in your research. Okay, thank you for muting yourself.
Students, please unmute. Don't keep your mobile audio on. That's not right. Okay.
Yes, it prevents other students from listening, and it's helpful if you are on mute so that people can listen to me. Okay, you during your PhD research, you are asked to do something which is called develop your research framework. Also, you decide on the methodology of your research. And these two are in connection to the literature review. What does it mean? When you develop your research framework, that means that you, as I said earlier, situate your research within a larger research which has been done in that particular area, and you identify the theories and the concepts which are important for your own research. This is called the framework, or the framework. I can't find a better word for that. And the methodology of your research, you probably know, you can conduct your research in various ways. You can either have qualitative or a quantitative type research, or both. So you can have a survey with a questionnaire, or you can have interviews and focus groups to analyze a certain issue, or you can have you can read different articles and present different points of view that you found in those articles. Or if you're in a more scientific area, you can do experiments and then present the results of your experiments and so on. And this is the methodology of your research. So both the research framework and the methodology of research need to be connected to the literature review part, which is at the beginning of your paper. In other words, when you read the articles and the theories, you also have in mind these other two things, the research framework and the methodology of research, how you are going to conduct your own research. And that helps you select the articles for the literature review. And I mentioned this, I think you position your research. In other words, you express your own position towards what you are researching. You could state arguments for certain things, or arguments against certain theories or articles that you are including in the literature review. And in this way, it helps you position your own research. It helps you decide how you are going to conduct your own research. Next, I would just like to mention the 5 C's of a literature review. It's easy to remember them like that. So 5 words beginning with C, they are the very important points in writing a literature review. And the first one is about citing. As you know, citing or quoting people in your research is extremely important. And we are, especially in the literature review, I mean, the literature review is about citing other people, because you're including theories and articles and people who thought of other things and researched your area, your topic. But it's very important to do it properly, to do it correctly and ethically. And I looked at the timetable, and I think you did something on the ethics of research. So I suppose you know these already. But it's important to remind you all the time that you need to avoid plagiarism. You need to avoid being accused of plagiarizing other people. And that is taking other people's ideas and including them in your research as your own. And plagiarism is not only about citing properly, so putting things in inverted commas at the beginning and at the end, and writing the exact words of these people, an idea and using an idea that somebody else had before you and presenting it as your own. And in some situations, we also talk about self-plagiarism or auto-plagiarism, when you, in a new article, you're using another idea that you used in another article of your own. Now, in Romania, in my country, they have discovered a lot of plagiarized plagiarized PhDs. So now there is a very strong position of researchers and academics against plagiarism. And not only in Romania, as you probably know, in the United States and everywhere, they're looking at PhDs of sometimes politicians or people in culture or in education and discovering plagiarism. So it's important to stay away from that. And that refers to in-text citations. So whenever you quote somebody or state somebody's idea in the text of your literature review or your research in general, but also the fact that you need to have everything in the bibliography at the end. And you need to do it really carefully by stating all the details, including the pages, the page numbers where you found that idea or article, idea or quotation, and so on. And there are different citation styles. I just named here some of them, but usually it's your doctoral school or your doctoral supervisor who requests you to use a certain citation style. If not, you choose one for yourself, and then you go online